I saw one of your videos where you help your husband find wives. And how many wives does he have?
Right now, two. I'm
And
looking for the third.
I'm sorry?
I'm looking for the third.
Really? And
Yeah.
you said you were married to a black man?
Yes.
Why not marry a white man? Are you white?
No, I'm Arab
Oh, why not marry a white man? Why did you marry a black man?
because God chose him for me.
He said he was a black one?
God chose him for me.
Where'd you get him from?
New York.
Really?
Yeah. You know what?
And
A lot of
so,
people ask me this and they say, "Oh, why did you marry this man? Why didn't you marry someone, your parents picked or someone
yeah.
else?" And I say, God picked this man for me. I tell people, if
Is
you
he
want
a
to find a
Muslim?
soulmate, hmm?
Is he a Muslim?
Yes, he is. He
So
was born
God said to you, Aziza, here's this Muslim man, marry him.
basically in more or less in
You heard
less
a
words.
voice?
No, it's through feelings, right? God speaks to us. We call it wahi, which is kind of like emotions, right? Like you feel at peace with certain people, and some people you look at them and you're like, that's the devil. And we as humans, we really believe, like in Islam, that every single person has their own little devil, and every person has to fight that devil. So
Yeah.
anger, fear, insecurities, all of that.
Yeah.
You're put on this earth to fight that. And so this man was a man that I respected, I admired before I loved. So I liked how he carried himself. I respected him. I felt a different energy from him than I felt from other men. And you could probably tell from this conversation, I'm pretty outspoken. I'm pretty comfortable. And I tell men they have to be honest, they have to be good leaders, and they have to be aware of God if they want to find a good woman. Because if you are and you have a good relationship with God, it's easy to go out into the world and have God give you one wife, two wives, three wives, four wives, whatever it is you want. But you have to be that type of man. And so that's what I preach on collectivelymarried.com. That's the whole point of the videos. It's
Right.
to make people believe that they can have anything they want. There's no shame. Like you
Can
don't
you,
have to
does he have
marry
a
a woman and
job?
cheat on her. Hmm?
Does your husband have a job?
Yes, he does.
Did he have a job when you met him?
Yes, he did.
And he's black?
Yeah.
What the? Um,
Amazing.
Amazing. So let
You
me just,
know,
I gotta ask
it's
this before I leave my thought. Do you support the Great White Hope?
did I support the Great White
Do you
Hope?
support him? Do you support him now?
I'm not American, so I don't vote, so I don't do any of that. But
Oh,
I support honesty and truth. And I support people that put out the truth. And that's the whole point. Like I come on here and I say, you know what? I tell ladies this. Most ladies that come to me that say, "Oh, my man cheated," or "I broke up with a man because he was not loyal." I tried to tell them, okay, look, men are not built the same as us. Even in the Quran, God tells us that men's biggest weakness is women. You as a woman, it's your job. Women, sometimes we've been pumped with all this media that tells us like Prince Charming is going to come and take care of us and all of that. And it's
right.
not a reality. The
Yeah.
reality is the man you marry, he's going to be attracted to other women. That's just what happens. You have to be realistic about it. Like go to Collectively Married, read the books, but when you understand what a man is and what the nature of a woman is, you're not going to feel like, oh, he likes another woman, he doesn't love me. If your man married a second wife, a third wife, a fourth wife, you think I'd be out here preaching, bring him more women if I didn't feel like my man loved me? Like some people might say to me, "Oh, aren't you worried you're going to lose him?" I have absolutely no fear that I'm going to lose my husband because we have an amazing relationship.
So he
And I
has he
understand
has
him.
two wives right now, right? You and another woman.
Yes.
And you're trying to find a third one for him.
Yes.
How many does he want?
Well, I'm not sure. Sometimes he says three. He's allowed up to four. We're taking it one step at a time. If he can provide, so God tells us this. God tells us if he can provide financially, if he can provide emotionally, if he can provide sexually, like takes care of you on all the aspects, what's better? Sending him to go cheat, which I know a lot of men like. I've even heard this joke among Christians that I have a wife and a girlfriend, and it's like a common thing. But that's not good for women or men. It's not good for your spirituality. It's not good for the woman that her kids will be basically bastards. If he's married to more than one wife, they're all his wives. They're all
That's
treated
amazing.
equally. They're all seen equally in the sight of God. And then as wives, it's not your job to be like, oh, what is he doing with the other lady? You take care of your house, you take care of your man when he's with you. When he's with his other wife, that's his wife.
But
that's
do
it.
y'all all live in the same house?
No,
Oh, you don't live in the same house?
no.
Because I was wondering when it's sex time, you know, when that time of night come, right?
Yeah.
Do you leave the room? Do you leave the bed and let him have
No,
her?
see, I'm married to my husband, and my husband has another wife. That's it.
Is he
So,
married to her too?
yes. And so when he's with me, my business is my husband. When he's with her, my business is becoming a better woman. You know, a lot of women complain to me and say, I don't have time for myself. I'm with the kids. I'm at my work. I'm with my husband. I never have time for myself. This is a great solution. You have time for yourself.
What
Go
the-
do what you love that your man doesn't like to do.
Do you
Go
have
grow
children?
yourself. I do have children.
By your husband?
Yes.
And does he have children with the other woman?
Not yet.
Amazing. Do you ever see the other woman?
Not often, because it's the same thing. Like I tell a lot of people, my husband is married to me. You know, it's weird when you hear it from an outside perspective, but when you live it, it's just my husband's with me, and then some weeks he's not. It's
So
like if
does
you were
he
married
say
to a
I'm going to be with?
businessman.
Does he say I'll be back next week? I'm going to be with my other wife for a week.
Something like that.
Really? Amazing. And so when you and this other woman
But
see,
before we move on, I have a question for you. If you had more than one wife or one woman, would you still be with that woman?
in my father's state, I would not be, but now I would. Because when I realized I didn't love them, I just wanted to have sex with them. Men don't love women, they just love sex until they overcome, until they return to the Father and their normal nature. And then they are no longer subject to the woman, they're only subject to God. Then they can love you with His love, right? And then you only need one wife if you want a wife. You don't need a dozen. But a man that
Yeah, you
needs a
don't need a
dozen
dozen.
wife is only
Of
about
course.
the sex. Four, however, how many. How many husbands can you have?
Just the one.
Why you can only have one, but he can have up to four?
Because God said so. And even
When
if
did God say that? God ain't never said that.
God said that in the Quran.
Oh, I rest my case.
So look, I'll tell you something. Look at the anatomy of men and look at the biology of women. Look at us both.
Right.
Like, even if you break down the biology, how often can a woman get pregnant? Like once a month? She has a day or two where she can ovulate, she can
Right.
get pregnant. A man, when he releases his sperm, he releases 300 million sperm in one session, right? And they said, I forget the math, but they said if all of humanity disappeared, like all the men on Earth disappeared, and it was just women, it would take like 26 men to repopulate the whole population. You know,
Amazing.
and that was just someone doing some random math. But to give you to give you kind of like the image or the perspective of it, it's men are created differently. And I've spoken with men that are married that love their wives,
But
but they
God
still
doesn't
have these
say
urges.
God doesn't say that men should have more than one wife. He should only have one.
He says that in the
I know in the
Quran.
Old Testament he
says
had
you
more
can
than
have
one.
4 if you treat them fairly. And that means that
But
you
God
treat
never said that
equally.
though.
God said that.
That's made up in
We'll
the
take it up
Quran,
with
but
God on the day of, you guys believe in the day of judgment, right?
in the day, I don't know what that is.
What happens at the end for Christianity is what happens when the earth ends, when you die.
The earth is never going to end, and we're never going to die.
What about all the people that
There's
have
only
already
there's
died?
only one death, and that is the death of the ego, the false self. But we never die. We leave the body at some point, but we never die. There's no such
Okay,
thing
okay.
as death. Death is just a word. There's
Okay,
only, we have
I
one to
understood
die
death
from the
is
ego.
leaving your body. What
We-
happens after that?
If you have not overcome the fallen state, if you still have anger, you just live a life of anger, of hell, right here on earth, right? Flying out there somewhere. But if you have forgiven, you have perfect love, you live a peaceful life in space, wherever, right? But you never die. There's no such thing as death.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask this. Why can't, does your husband beat you?
No,
He never beat you?
no.
How does he deal with you when the hell come out of you?
The hell doesn't come out of me.
You never let your hell out?
I get angry sometimes, but
That's
this is
hell.
what that's not hell. I'll tell you, hold on. When I get angry, because this is something I also teach on collectivelymarried.com, you have to step away. The human brain, when you're stressed, angry, or scared, the logical part of your brain shuts down. And if I'm in that state, I don't raise my voice to my husband. And if I feel like I'm going to, I tell him, like, I'm not in a state to talk. We understand this. And I step away, I calm down, we come back, we have conversation. As humans, if you come to your man, and I see a lot of women do this, where they come and they try to outman her husband or her, whoever her partner is. When you come and do that, number one, both of you are in a state where your logical part of your brain is shut down. So you're never gonna resolve the issue. All you're gonna do is yell at each other, and it's gonna get nasty. Sometimes it'll get violent, and that's why it's because people aren't educated on relationships and how to stay married. The divorce rate is so high because people don't know how to communicate with each other. So if I have a problem with my husband, if he has a problem with me, even when I was starting to grow up and my mother was telling me about getting ready for marriage, she used to always say, if one of you's fire, one of you's water. Like, you have to be calm with each other. And that's just something that we implement.
Why not overcome your hell that your anger is evil, anger is hell, anger is abnormal, and anyone that has anger doesn't have perfect peace. Why don't you overcome the anger, period, and have nothing? Because it's pure evil, why not overcome it?
That's a great question. We can overcome it by praying. We can overcome it by taking a deep breath. We can overcome it by stepping away.
Well, why don't you overcome it then?
We're human.
Why don't you overcome it?
Why don't I overcome it? That's a fault. Got to get better. But you know what? You know what I'm going to tell you?
What?
At the end of the day, most relationships, I tell women, just have sex with your husband. If you're having problems with him, it's because you're not having enough sex.
But that's what drug dealers do to the drug addict. He just keeps giving them drugs.
Because in marriage, it's not a drug. In marriage, when you have sex with your husband, you're getting rewards for it. God rewards you because you're building a stronger marriage. When you have sex, you're releasing dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. So dopamine makes you feel good. Oxytocin bonds you, and the endorphins also relieve your stress. So if you're angry, you gotta sleep. You gotta sleep with your wife. That's it.
One last thing. So when you see this other woman, y'all see each other sometime, right? Mm-hmm. Are there like things you don't like about it, even though you might not tell her? You look at it and you see like, wow, I don't like this.
No.
You don't. And so you guys get along very well.
Yeah. Because my husband set a good tone for us, you know? Like I said, you have to be a specific type of leader to have a household with 2, 3, or 4 wives. And when you're that type of leader, you're not going to have women bickering or using you to fight with the other wife. No, you're going to be like, this is how you guys are going to treat each other. And that's it. And then you just submit to your husband. You listen to him, you let him lead, and you're happy.
Wow. And so, but Muslim women are not allowed to have but one husband.
Just one husband.
And that's fair.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.